Okay, 2024, question 5a. So we have two smooth spheres, S1 and S2, that are colliding directly, and we're given the masses 2u, the velocities 2u and u, and the masses are 2m and 3m respectively. So they tell us the coefficient is somewhere between 0 and 1, and they say calculate in terms of E and U the speed of each sphere after collision. So in this case here, we're looking for a principle of conservation of momentum. So let's start there. And I'm going to say it's m1 u1 plus m2 u2 plus m1 v1 plus m2 v2. My mass one is 2m, so I'm going to say 2m times 2u plus my mass 2, which is 3m times minus u. Just watch your direction, it's going the opposite way. After, what we have is we still have 2m by v, and we use v1, and we'll say 3m by v2. Cleaning that up, I'm going to get 4mu minus 3mu equals this guy over here on the right. Divide everything by m, and because 4mu minus 3mu is just 1mu, so that becomes u equals 2v1 plus 3v2. So that's my first equation. My next part then, once I've done the principle of conservation of momentum, is to use Newton's law here. So we're going to say NEL. That's how you'll see it in the mark scheme, which is why I'm kind of using that notation. I'm going to write down the rule here is that it's V1 minus V2 equals minus E by U1 minus U2. So I get V1 minus V2 equals minus E by U1, which was 2U, and U2, which was minus U. So just again, watch the direction there. Minus U is going to make that minus 3E. So I get minus 3EU. And now we have our second equation done. Lastly, what we're going to do is we're going to put them together and solve them simultaneously. So what I want to do is I'm going to say, okay, let's take the, I think it's easier to rearrange the second equation and plug it into the first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get V1 on its own and V2 on its own. So if I get V1 on its own, I get it to be V2 minus 3EU. And I'm going to substitute that into the first equation. So I'm going to say U equals 2 times V2 minus 3EU plus 3V2. We're looking to get V2 alone, so let's multiply this all out. And I end up getting 5V2 minus 6EU equals U. Bring this all over to the left, so I get U plus 6EU equals 5V2, and then just divide both sides by 5. What you'll commonly see in the mark scheme as well, which is fair enough, is to just factorize the top, so that becomes 1 plus 6E all over 5. And we found our first, or our second one, our V2. So let's rinse and repeat the idea for V1. Or if you like, you can plug this V2 in for V1 up here. It's all the same. But what I'll do instead is I'll get V2 alone. So I'm going to bring this over and then bring the minus 3EU to the other side. So writing that in the next line, I'm going to say, okay, in that case, V2 is equal to V1 plus 3EU. Go back up to the original. U equals 2V1 plus 3 by V1 plus 3EU. I get U equals 5V1 plus 9EU. Bring it all over to this side and then divide it by 5, and I get V1 is U minus 9EU all over 5. U by 1 minus 9E is V1. And that is our V1 and our V2. Okay, in part 2, they ask for the range of values of E such that both spheres move in the same direction. Now, I'm just grabbed our two previous ones here from the previous. Let's put them the other way around though. So V1 and V2. What we need to note is that we decided at the start that to the right was the positive direction for U. So if we take a look here, there's no way this equation could ever be negative because it's U, which is to the positive, nothing negative in here. So basically what we're saying here is that V2 is always greater than 0, i.e. it's always going to the right. And therefore, when is V1 greater than 0? So we take our equation for V1 and we let that be greater than 0. U and 5 are just constants, so I can multiply both sides by 5 and divide both sides by U, or basically just get rid of them. Since both U and 5 are positive, we don't flip the sign. Bring over the 9 and then divide both sides by 9. We get E is less than 1/9. So therefore, the range of values for E can be greater than or equal to 0 and less than 1/9. And that is how we get the range for that bad boy there. So just looking through that entire question, that little part there was just worth 5 at the end for getting down to and showing some sort of valid effort. In the previous parts here, you got 5 for correctly getting out each equation up here, so 5 and 5. And then finally for your answers, you got 5 as well. Right, 2024 question 5B. So a train departs from Connolly Station, accelerates uniformly for rest for t1 seconds until it reaches the speed of v, then it maintains the speed for t2, and so on and so on. So what I recommend with this is to draw a little sketch for yourself, just your own sanity. And we're going to say here, if I drew this out, I'm going to have, basically it's accelerating uniformly from rest. So it goes up to a certain velocity, I'll call this v, and it does that in a time t1. Okay, for t1 seconds. So this whole bit is t1. Next, it then maintains this speed for t2 seconds. This whole bit here is t2. And then lastly, the train decelerates to rest at a time of t3 seconds. So this going down is t3. Now, the tricky part of this one is trying to understand what exactly he wants, the examiner. So I'm going to say, look, the distance is S1 plus S2 plus S3, where I'm saying S1 is this area, S2 is this area, and S3 is this area. Now, with that in mind, that would be then D equals a half VT1 plus VT2 plus a half VT3. Then the next thing, and again, feels very convoluted, this question, but what they're trying to say is I want everything in terms of D and T2 and V. So what we will need to get rid of is our T1 here and our T3. We need to find another way to describe both of those. So first here, T1, if I was to rewrite it, T2 equals 2T1. So I can say T2 equals 2T1. So T1 is equal to T2 over 2, which straight away is going to help clear up this section here. So just factorizing for a second, I'm going to say it's V times a half. T1 is T2 over 2 plus VT2 plus, I won't do anything with my T3 quite yet. So I get V T2 over 4 plus plus, I put a V in there by accident, and I did it there again. Don't go too fast, too furious. Don't get distracted by all the pretty lights on the way. So cleaning this up, and bear in mind, I am but human, and I will also make many mistakes as I go on, but I will always own them. So here we are. We've got our lovely equation, and we've got it so far in V's and D2s and D3s. So I'm almost there where I need to get the T3 alone. So I need to figure out how can I get T3 on its own. Well, what I can do is I can say, he tells me capital T equals T1 plus T2 plus T3. I know I'm going to be using capital T in my equation. So I'm going to say capital T equals T1 is now T2 over 2. T2 is T2. And T3 is T3. Getting T3 alone, I'm going to say it's T minus T2 over 2 minus T2. That ends up being simplified down. T minus, that's minus a half, minus 1, so it's minus 3 t2 over 2, and that's my t3. Now with that in mind, I'm going to sub that, and I'm just going to kind of highlight here, these are the things I'm subbing in, or have subbed in. So let's replace the t3 and see if we can neaten this bad boy up. I get v times t squared, or t2 over 4, excuse me, plus t2 plus a half times t minus 3t over 2. This isn't the only way to tackle the question. You could use your UVAST. You will eventually get there either way. I'm going to try neaten this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by, sure, you know what, I'll do out the brackets first, v. T2 over a quarter, so that's a quarter plus 1, so this is 5 over 4 T2. Plus T over 2 minus 3T squared over 4. Multiply both sides by 4. So I'm going to multiply this bracket by 4 and this by 4. I'm going to get 4D equals V. 4 times this bracket would be by 5T squared plus 2T minus 3T. Sorry, not squared. I keep saying squared. I mean 2. What am I trying to get here? Capital T in its own. So let's just multiply this out and see where we get to. Taking a look at these, 5v2 minus 3v2 leaves me with 2vt2. And now I'm going to shift. It's a lot of work in this question for just rearranging at the end of the day, but it becomes 4d minus 2vt2 equals 2tv. God, I'm tired emotionally doing this question. 4d minus 2vt2 all over 2v. I feel like I'm almost there. Go up to the question. What's going on here? Oh, yeah. What goes into all these numbers? It's the number 2. So I get number 2. 2d minus vt2 all over v. Just double check it up there. 2d minus... Oh, yeah, I've swapped the t and the v, but it doesn't really matter. So I'll swap it just to look like what he's got there. And I'm going to say that guy there all over v. And sometime about a millennia later, I feel like I'm done that question, which was very irritating. That's it for part B. The marks, there's a lot of marks going for this though, which is quite nice. So let's just walk through where you could pick up some marks. In total it was 25 marks. Obviously for getting to the final answer is going to give you the final 5. Here, getting kind of S3, like getting this guy out where you've got S3 kind of worked out, and finding out the T's rearranged in some make, shape or form, like getting it to be T5 over a quarter here, will get you another one. And then when you've subbed them in, you're looking kind of anywhere you've created an equation, you're pretty much getting 5 and 5. So it looks like there are the kind of 3 situations I'm getting 5, where I'm remaking these all together. Again, you can use that with UVAST, do the same thing. I just prefer it for the visual myself. Right, B part 2. If the average speed of the journey is 2v over 3, show that t equals to 6t1. So average speed, suppose you need an equation for this. Average speed is the total distance over the total time. So with that, 2v over 3 equals d over t. Now we're trying to show that t equals 6t1. So we're going to have to do a little bit of kind of substitution magic here to see what's going on. But if I just take a look here at rearranging it first, what did we find previously? Oh yeah, we found t is all this stuff. So let's go crazy and take all that stuff and bring it with us down here to see if it's of any use. I'm going to say, right, I'm going to neaten this up. So 2v2 equals 3d. And I'm going to sub in t here. Now, if I sub in t, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up getting an equation with d's and t2s. So maybe that's not going to be as useful as I think. So what I might do instead is I might say, okay, could I substitute out something else? And what I'm going to say here is I'm going to rearrange this to make d the subject. So this becomes tv equals 2d minus t squared v. And I'm going to say tv minus t2v all over 2 is d. And now I'm going to replace the d on this side with that. Now, look, you'll kind of get there eventually if you're playing around with numbers and getting used to seeing these. These questions to me are the most irritating because I think they're very convoluted. This becomes 4vt. I multiply both sides by 2. 3tv minus 3t2v. Also, the symbols and the letters here would really irritate you. So next I'm going to go for is trying to get some stuff alone. I have these everywhere, so that's fine. So I get 4t equals 3t minus 3 2t. I'm almost there. T equals minus 3t2. Lastly, what I'm going to go in here is just double check, did I do my rearranging correctly? No, when I brought this over, it should be plus, because I was looking at that going, that should be a plus. Okay, hopefully we're happy just there. When I brought over this T2 to the other side, I should have made it a positive. You would need, like, you'll notice these things as you're going, and you be carefuler than Steve. 3, T2, back up here. T2 was at 2T1. So I'm going to say 3 times 2T1, and sure enough, I get T equals 6T1. Ay. What a ridiculous question. So what did I do again? Key takeaways here. Know what average speed is. It's the total distance over the total time. We subbed in the average speed that was given. And then I used the previous equation, but I had a little bit of foresight to say I need to have t at the end, but what I don't need is d. So I got d alone after doing some correct rearranging, which I didn't do initially. And then I subbed it in and I solved it out. Quite a bit to that there, and it's only worth 5 marks. But like that, make sure, even if you don't get the previous part or you don't get it fully out, make sure that you use the details from part 1 to help you with part 2. And that is the end of 2024, question 5b. Hope you found that useful. If you did, then like or subscribe, or check out the other social medias where I'll be adding extra resources. If you want something particular made, then just leave me a message on one of those platforms and I'll do my best to get around to it at some point. Best of luck in all your exams.